Welcome back to another episode of Gemma and Rach Let's Chat podcast with me, Rach.
And me, Gemma.
The podcast where every week we look to choose a topic and give you the good, the bad, and the sometimes comical realities that we've had with that subject. This week, we're letting you in on our relationships. So grab a brew, put in your earpods, or link up the Bluetooth and let's chat. So Gem, we both have quite long-standing relationships with our Jim and Jamie.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a bit of background about you and Jim Bob?
Okay, I will. So me and Jim have been together now for 15 years. So we met 15 years ago. We've been married for 9, nearly. So it's going to be our big 10-year anniversary next year, which is quite exciting. Yeah, we've been together a long time. So we met back when I was working in Winchester. So I used to work just sort of like an admin job, really. And I was quite new there. And the guy from the stationery company called me and said, I've got to come in and have a meeting with you, chat to you about, how to order on the system and all of this sort of stuff. Because I had to do basically all of the stationery was one of my jobs. So he was like, yeah, I'll come in Friday afternoon. We just have an informal chat. I was like, okay, dressed down Friday. I was in like a hoodie, greasy hair. Just was not.
Looking your best.
Yeah, looking stunning.
Just ready to meet the love of your life.
Well, I wasn't expecting. I thought it was just going to be some middle-aged salesman.
I mean, I've never really come across sexy stationery salesman. Isn't like, when you get like a kissogram or like someone's hen do, you don't normally go, have you got anyone that sells pens?
Although there was that guy, wasn't there, on Love Island? What was his name?
Yeah.
Jack. Was it Jack?
Jack, yeah.
Yeah, he sold pens. He was quite good looking.
He did, to be fair.
That used to be like a running joke when we watched that series. I was like, oh my God, Jim, it's you. So anyway, he knocked at the door and I was like, oh shit. is that James? I was like, oh no. So I answered the door. I was like, hi, and he came in, and I just felt like an instant embarrassment. I don't know what it was. I was conscious about how I looked. I was embarrassed to look him in the eye, and it was just all very like, you just have that, don't you, with certain. They say, love at first sight or whatever. But I was just really, I did definitely feel something really quickly.
Don't you? Like,
you do
I think
know.
if nothing else, if you've got that attraction. Like, if you want to rip someone's clothes off.
Well, I didn't at that point. I was just a bit like, oh my God, like I'm at work. Why am I fancying the stationery man? Like, this is not good. But anyway, he was the same. He felt a bit, I don't know, it just felt a bit strange. Anyway, so when he left, I worked with Serica at the time. So Serica, she's now actually a consultant on my team. People might have seen, actually. I went out with her last week.
I was going to say.
She's like a party animal. And we used to get on really well. Like, we've worked together for a long time. And she was like, oh my God, you fancy James? I was like, no, I don't. She was like, you definitely do. Like, and he fancies you as well. And I was just a bit like, oh my God, do you think? She was like, yeah, 100%. And then within like 2 minutes, it was like, ding, I had an email. And he was just like, lovely to meet you. If you've got any questions, blah, blah, blah. But it just, I don't know, it just felt a little bit friendly. The email just... Maybe I was just reading into it, I don't know. But I replied saying, lovely to meet you too. And then I was like, thanks, blah, blah, blah. I think I asked him a couple of questions just to keep the emails going. And then that was it. Like, email all day, every day. We just
You were like Gavin and Stacey, at the beginning of the first episode when they're on the phone to each other.
Do you know what? My mum even said that when she watched Gavin and Stacey. She's like, oh, that's what you two are like. And it was literally like that. Like, we didn't talk on the phone, but it was all email, all virtual, like, so I guess... I know you and Jamie met online. I suppose it's quite similar because I know we'd met, but actually chatting virtually, you get to know them like in quite like more depth, I think, because you ask more questions. You're braver, aren't you, over a message or whatever, or over the phone?
Yeah, 100%. And I found that with Jamie, like you said, we met online on Plenty of Fish.
Yeah.
And like the old school Tinder. And I remember I'd only set it up because my friend had set an account up.
Yeah.
And she was like, because we're from quite like a small area in Gloucestershire, she was like, if people go on who like know us, it's going to be so cringe. And I was like, right, okay, let me set one up as well. And then we'll be cringe together.
Oh, you were doing her a favour.
I was in my like, I don't need men stage. I came out of like a messy relationship about 6 months earlier.
That's so weird. Me too. I was like, I hate men. I'm not interested.
I was like, I do not need a man in my life.
Yeah.
And And then the one night we'd had like a couple of drinks, we were just chilling, and I like just popped it open on my desktop because it didn't have an app. Like you had to actually go on your desktop and like log into it. And his little face was in like people you may like. And I was like, I love the look of him.
See, instant
It
attraction. It
was
needs to be there.
his eyes. I was just like, oh my
Mm.
God, he's the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my life. And
Aw.
I messaged him saying, "You're Welsh and good looking. What a good combination."
I love that.
Dead. And he messaged me back. So I can only assume he
Aw.
wasn't getting much because if that chat up line drew him in, then
But he would have had the attraction to you as well, Rach. Like
odds.
when it is right, it's right, isn't it? Like he would have
Yeah.
known. I don't know what he says about it now, but I'm sure he felt exactly the same.
It's so funny because then we messaged back and forth a little bit, and then WhatsApp had just started. It was like just becoming a thing,
Mhm.
and he WhatsApped me the next day, like, "Good morning, Rachel," like a work email. And I always say to him now, I was like, "Why did you message me like you were replying to your boss?" He's like, "I have no idea why I went so professional."
Aw.
Um,
He was
and
nervous probably.
Probably, and then we just went from there, and then we chatted on the phone a few times. The one time I rang him really boozed, and
Mhm.
he was like, "You sound so different. Are you sure you're the same girl I've been speaking to?" Thinking he was being catfished or something. I was like, "Yeah, no, it's still me."
And do you know what? I've met drunk Rachel, and she is quite different.
Well, I think everyone's seen that. And then yeah, we I drove to Cardiff. I'd never driven to Wales before. And
Oh.
I drove to I printed off an AA route planner for anyone who
Oh my
remembers that
god, I
little
do
golden
remember.
oldie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
because
hard to read, weren't they, whilst you were
I was
driving?
gonna say, you can't use a phone now when you drive, but you were more than allowed to have what
Yeah.
is essentially 18 pages of A4 paper with font 10 writing to
Yeah.
get you where you needed to be. And then I went and met him. Didn't tell anyone I was gonna meet him. I told my sister. I was like, "Right, I'm gonna meet this guy
Oh.
in Cardiff. Don't tell mum and dad. Don't tell anybody. I'll message you when I get there, and then I'll message you within the hour. If I haven't messaged you within the hour, I have been murdered, so then
Don't.
you need to ring the
Oh,
police."
God. Well, at least you told somebody. That's good. You were
Yeah,
safe.
and it was from there then. So we went to he did the old cliche. So he was living with his mates at the time, but they were out. So I went in and I was like, "Oh, give me the tour. Let me see the tour of the house."
Oh, God, what was the house like?
It was really
Oh,
well for what was basically like a student like a student house in
yeah.
Cardiff, like with three lads. It was nice. Um,
Oh,
but
God,
I just
in a
wanted
minute, I'll have to tell you about Jim's because it was not nice.
Oh, no, Jamie's was okay. He was upstairs. He'd, like, showed me downstairs. I was like,
Oh.
"I'm really not interested in any of your house. I just wanna snog your face off." And then we went upstairs. He's like, "And this is my room." And then, yeah, I just kissed him. And it was the first guy where I've ever like, so I initiated that initial conversation. Like, I drove
Mhm.
to him to see him. I mean, I looked really keen, didn't I? And then I nacked him, and I was just like, yeah. But I think part of me, because it was like online, and because he lives in Cardiff, part of me was just like, well, it's not going to go anywhere. Like, it's kind of is just
Yeah.
going to be a fling.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm an independent woman, and if I want to have a fling with a Welshman off the internet, I am entitled to do that.
Yes. Good for
As it
you.
happens,
You
been with
married
them,
him.
been with them 11 years.
So you can't just have a fling. Oh,
No, but
you
what was
guys.
Jim's house like? Was it not nice?
Oh, no. So he oh god, he shared a flat in the middle of Winchester, and it was above, like, a restaurant, opposite a kebab house. So we used to hear and see all sorts, going back there, like, late at night. But it was just like a typical man's, like, pad. It was all dark and dingy, like, it was a really old Winchester building as well, so it was all a bit crooked and creaky, and it's just awful, a bit smelly. I mean,
Oh,
his bedroom was alright. I mean, the bathroom, don't even get me started on that, but yeah,
oh
his bedroom was
no.
nice because it was a really, really big room, so it was kinda like a bedroom with a lounge, so it was we
Like a
basically
little
spent all of our
studio
time.
flat.
Yeah, we
Oh,
just hid in there and
spent all of your time in the bedroom.
we did,
That's what
literally.
happens when you first get
Oh.
with someone.
Yeah, and we just went out, like, once we were together properly, we were just out all the time, living our best lives. I was staying at his because he was right in the middle of town, and his roommate was just like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah,
Like,
Jamie's friends were like that, I think,
yeah,
because
but
you
yeah.
just you like we kind of went because we did do long distance for 2
Mm,
years. So
Wow.
it was quite different. It was a difficult dynamic with his friends because obviously they wanted his mate. They wanted their mate first and foremost, but also they didn't want a girl in their house every weekend. They'd been in work all week. They just wanted to chill. And there's me like wanting to come and see him, or he would come to. I was living with my mum and dad at the time, so which that's not the funnest environment to be in. So yeah, it was. It was tough, but it made when we moved in together like all the more sweet. Like it was just so lovely when that day finally came and we could actually move in and be together.
Did you move in like quite soon, you two?
2 years we were together for when we moved in together. So
Oh wow.
we needed to figure out where we were going to live because wherever we moved in, one of us was going to have to like uproot our life.
Mm-hmm. So you were like Gavin and Stacey as well?
Yeah, not quite as far
Oh.
as Barry and Essex, but it was one of us would have to move, and I decided I would move.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we couldn't afford Cardiff because Cardiff is really expensive. So
Yeah.
we moved to London. We didn't move to London. We moved to Newport, which is just outside of Cardiff, in a
Yeah.
really, really shitty one-bed house. Like literally the worst thing I've ever seen. I've seen better squats on like nightmare tenants and like rogue landlords, but it did its purpose. We lived there for 5 years, saved up for our house deposit, like grafted every weekend doing overtime to save up, because obviously it's hard, isn't it? Like when you're
so hard,
when you're trying to build that life together, it's really tough in the beginning, but we really grafted, and then we kind of got dream location of where we live now was everything. Where we live now is where we really wanted to live. So I'm not going to say dream house yet,
but dream location, which is really important,
really
especially when you're going to have
important.
children and stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
we were quite similar because we actually got a house together quite early on. We moved into like a nicer flat basically. I was like, I can't be here every night with you in this shithole.
Kebab
Can we please
shithole.
I was like, let's rent somewhere together and just save. So we just rented like a flat. It wasn't that far away. It was still central Winchester, so still bloody expensive. But we stayed there for a while and had like more parties and had everyone over and stuff, and it was amazing. But then we ended up in a bit of a dive actually to save, because Jim, he knew somebody through work that had this, they worked like for the housing association, and basically there was this flat that nobody wanted in a tower block, and it was like 300 quid a month, 2 bedrooms, massive balcony, and I was like, we'll take it. Like, we can save so much money if we just stay there for a couple of years.
That's it.
We had no responsibility. We grafted, we worked overtime, saved our asses off. And I actually that's when I fell pregnant with Finley. So we were like, we cannot live here with a child. Like, lots of people there did have children, but I was not going to be one of them. So
that was like,
get me out.
I always thought, I was like, oh my gosh, if we fall pregnant whilst we're living in this house, like it was awful. And like there was really random things the landlord said we couldn't get rid of. So like he had a lawnmower in the bathroom. There was like a cupboard in the bathroom with a lawnmower in it. And I remember being like, can we move that lawnmower out of the airing cupboard? And he was like, no. I was like, oh, right, okay then. God. And then he had loads of lawnmowers. He had like 2 in there. None of them worked though. We had to buy our own to cut the grass.
Oh my God,
we had a
how
shed
weird.
we couldn't go in. I was like, this guy's definitely killed people.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's killing them with the lawnmower, putting them in the shed.
It was, but like you said, it was in a brilliant location. I could walk to work, he could walk to the train station. It was like 400 quid a month.
You just suck it up, don't you? You just have to do it to save for that bloody deposit.
And you're like, right, we'll do it. Taking it back a little bit, where did you and Jim go on your first date?
Oh, we went to a bar. So when we were emailing, eventually after about 3 months, he was like, look, can I take you out for a drink? I was like, yes, for God's sake, I can't believe it's taken you. I thought, I'm not going to ask you. I was just in a mood with men in general, and I thought, if you want to take me out, you can ask me. So he was like, oh, can I have your number? And maybe we could go out on Friday, blah blah blah. He tried to make it casual, like, oh, I'm going to be out on Friday. And I was like, oh yeah, me too. Yeah, I've got my friends over. And I was just like lying, basically. And we ended up meeting in a bar called O'Neill's in Winchester, if anyone knows it. And yeah, we ended up getting really, really drunk that night. But I had already made a pact with myself that I was like, I'm not going home with him. So I was a bit opposite of you, Rach. I didn't dive on him as soon as he came in the pub. But I did.
I was going for it. And the best thing was, right, so like we always said we'd be honest on this podcast.
Yeah.
And like that weekend, like I was like, I may never see this man again. So,
Yeah.
this wasn't our first date. We went to TGI Fridays. I
Mhm.
ordered the fajitas. Don't do that on a first date because they're not pre-made. You got to make them yourself. It's a right faff.
Oh, yes, I've had them there,
Oh
yeah.
God, well, you know me, I don't like cooking. It felt like I was basically cooking my dinner in front of him. And then we went to Blockies, OBS, 3 for 10, bag of pick mix, lived our best life. But
Oh,
he did
yeah.
choose the hills have eyes. It was weird.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah, I remember that.
back to his bedroom, pick a mix, films. It was a glorious weekend. But
Yeah.
and I stayed an extra night. That is,
I
that
bet
was
you can't
how
even
much I didn't
remember
want
the
to leave.
film.
No, I couldn't tell you any.
It's like the new, well, that's the old Netflix and chill, isn't it? Blockbusters and
Blockbusters.
sweets.
Yeah. I mean, that is us, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
completely. But
yeah.
no, and then I remember that was the Friday night I went down. Oh no, it was the Saturday night I went down, stayed over the Saturday night, and then on the
Mhm.
Sunday I was really putting off going. And I was
Oh.
like, I really don't want to go because I was like, this could be it, and I was like, I really don't
Oh,
want to
it's
go
horrible,
now.
yeah.
And he was like, just stay till tomorrow then. And I was like, all right then. And then
Okay.
I was like, all right then, okay then, I will. Um, and then I remember driving back to Gloucester the next day, and I literally could not stop smiling the whole way back. I was just like,
Oh.
this boy is just something else. And I was like, oh, that's a shame. I might not see him again. One, because he might think I'm loosey goosey when it comes to, certain things.
Yeah.
And I just, oh, wow, that was nice. And then when I got home, I just opened my phone and he'd already messaged me, and I was like,
Oh,
oh,
see, do you know what? That's what when I like actually talking about, when I used to work with Serica, she was having like boy problems when we were working together. And she used to say, how do you know when it's right? And that's what I said to her. I was like, there won't be any games, Serica. Like they will reply to you when you
yeah.
text them. They will probably text you first. They'll probably ring you first. Like, when someone wants you. If they don't do that, it's not worth wasting your time on them. And I just remember I'd never really had that properly until Jim. And I was just like, God, he's
100%.
texted me already. Like it's no effort, is there, when it's right?
It's so like reciprocated what you give, and
Yes.
I had always been in relationships before where it was just complete games. Like,
Oh,
don't get me
yeah.
wrong, I was young, it was like teenage years, but it was just all games, all kind of tit for tat. And I don't
Mhm.
know, it just felt so different. It felt like he made me feel like I'd never even dated a boy before. Like that was the
Mm.
league above he was to everyone else I'd even talked to. And
Oh.
I remember him being like, "So what are we gonna do next week?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." He's like, "Right, I'll plan something then." And I was like, "Okay,"
Oh, it's so cute.
waiting to see what you planned. And then our proper first date was at Bristol Zoo. We went to the zoo for the day,
Oh,
which was really,
that's
really
cute.
nice. And then
Yeah.
his mum always says that he went back to Aberystwyth the week after, and his mum was like, "What have you been doing?" And he was like, "I went to the zoo last week." He's like, "Why would you go to the zoo with the boys?" And he was like, "No, I've met a girl."
Oh,
And the rest, as they say, is history.
yeah, it
And
is.
then yeah, we did 2 years, then we moved in together. And yeah, how long were you and Jim together before like you started talking about things like marriage? Because obviously you had
Um,
Finn before you got married, didn't you?
yeah, we did it the wrong way round. Basically, we were I don't even know how long we were together before we started talking, because we talked about babies before marriage,
Did
weirdly,
you?
because we weren't really like we didn't have loads of money, and we'd obviously in this tower block flat saving for a mortgage. Like we knew we wanted to get a mortgage together, and we knew we wanted children. Like we'd already spoken about that. We must have been together about maybe three. Let's think. When did we meet? Yeah, about 3 years basically. And I just said to him, I really do want a baby. Like, I've always been like really maternal, always wanted a
Mm,
family, always wanted, at least two children. And that was just something that I'd always really dreamed of. And he was like, yeah, me too. I'm well up for that. And we were kind of at the point where we're just like, we're a bit partied out. Like we went out a lot. We had loads of fun times. We went on holidays together, had an amazing 3 years, but we were just like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like I really feel like I want to settle down and start a family. We didn't realize it would happen as quickly as it did, like literally once, and yeah, pregnant
baby.
straight away. Yeah, and it was like, oh my god, right, we need to move out. Like we need to get somewhere to live. So we did like a part rent, part buy place to
Oh
get on the
yeah.
ladder. That's how we managed to do it, because Winchester's really, really expensive. So we like owned 50%, rented the other 50% just to get us on the ladder. And and Finley was born when we had it was like a new build flat. It was lovely. And we had him there. So yeah, we'd been together 4 years.
And so was it before or after Finn was born that Jim proposed?
After, yes, it was after, because obviously we had Finley and it was like, we probably should think about getting married now. And he proposed to me. He took me to Prague and he proposed to me there. Yeah.
That's so lush.
It was lovely. It was a bit
Jamie,
cheesy, if I'm honest. He did it in the hotel room with like love songs playing when we had breakfast delivered. I was a bit like, oh my God, thank God this is inside and not in public. Because actually that I wouldn't have wanted to do it in public. It just, it wouldn't have worked for me.
that was always my thing. I said I didn't want it to be in
Yeah.
public. But do you want to know a really funny story that I completely forgot until I was looking through
What?
questions for this podcast? And just to mention, thank you so much to everybody for your questions for today's podcast and for all the feedback on last week's episode. Me and Gem, it's meant a lot. We've made no secret that this has been a real passion project, but has really tested both of us. And so to have such incredible feedback and engagement from you all means so much. And we'd really appreciate it if you follow and click the little bell icon on Spotify so it notifies you of all our next episodes that we bring out to you guys. But in preparation for this podcast, I do not know how this slipped my memory.
What?
But so me and Jamie, I really wanted to get married. Because I wanted a baby actually, and I was just like, we need to get married before we have baby. I've like it's just what was in my head. And I wouldn't have actually minded, but I think it was more my mum and dad. I felt like I need to get married first and then have a baby. Because looking back, I would have just eloped, the stress of it all. But me and Jamie actually applied to go on Don't Tell the Bride. And we got through to like audition stage, like we got through to casting where we like had to go and be interviewed for it.
Oh my God.
It's so funny.
How did you not get on that? You should have so been on that.
Well, we weren't. So we applied for it before we were engaged. Because like we both knew we wanted to get engaged. Like we talked about it loads, and Jamie was like, yeah, no, I do want to marry you. I just, I want to propose when the time's right. And so this was the casting and all of that happened like October to November. And it was, the premise of the show. They were kind of like interviewing us separately, wanted to know kind of what I would want in a wedding, what he would want, like what he would do. Definitely like tried to goad him into basically everything that I didn't want, which is obviously what the show was about.
It's very clever, isn't it?
Yeah, but then we didn't, for whatever reason, we didn't make it onto the show, which I'm really bloody glad about now. But this was like the October, November, and then in the December, I remember him. I don't know. I just stopped kind of talking about it because the Don't Tell the Bride stuff had ended. I think I kind of got it out of my system a little bit because I've been talking about weddings for so long. I was like, oh, I don't actually care anymore. And then we went to his cousin's wedding like 2 days before Christmas. Beautiful wedding, like Christmas wedding. And everyone was like, you know what it's like, oh, you'll be next. Like, oh, you need to put a ring on it. Oh, you two will be such a beautiful couple. I was like, well, we are a couple, but I get what you say. And all of a sudden, he'd gone from being like, oh, yeah, to like, well, we'll see one day, maybe. It'll happen if it happens. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to break up with me. Like he
was obviously planning, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's such a man thing to do. Like, no, I don't want to anymore.
But I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, he's just not breaking up with me because it's just before Christmas and he doesn't want that to be sad. But he's going to break up with me. And then he proposed on Christmas Eve. It wasn't in Prague. It was up a field. That his sister lived on like loads of like land, like farming land. And he'd gone up to one of the like little foresty bits at the top and put loads of fake snow on the floor.
Oh, don't. That's too cute.
Put like little fairy lights in the trees. And he was like, do you want one of your Christmas presents? It like got to midnight and he was like, do you want one of your Christmas presents early? I was like, yeah, go on then. And he'd done little like, like when you give someone a present, but it's like a little treasure hunt. He did that for our first ever Christmas. So he was like, I don't know, it didn't make me automatically think you were going to propose. But then when we got outside and he was like, can I blindfold you? I was like, Okay. This doesn't normally happen outside, but okay.
This so should have been on Don't Tell the Bride. I would have loved that episode.
He could have done so well. That's probably why he didn't want him, because they were
Yeah.
like, he'll plan a nice wedding.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I can't remember a thing he said. I can't actually remember him
Oh.
asking me. But yeah, we got engaged then on Christmas Eve, and it was well, Christmas
Oh,
Day
that's lovely.
technically.
Yeah.
But it was really, really lovely. And I was like you, I was like, I don't want anything extravagant. I just want it to be
Yeah.
about us. Like we're quite whilst whilst we're on Instagram now, like things like big things in life I'm always quite private about, so that was
Mhm.
something that I was really glad it didn't even involve like family. Obviously when we got back, his mum had the Baileys out and was like, we had like a cheers
Oh.
and everything, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was
Oh,
lovely.
that's lovely.
So I
I've never
thought,
heard that story before.
oh,
That's
there you
lovely.
go, see, so I thought I
Oh.
would ask some like quick fire questions that were sent in to us.
Okay.
So again, thank you so much for sending them in. So how do you split the chores? Do you have like, so this may be controversial, but we have pink and blue jobs in this house.
Yeah, we do. We
And
have the same.
yeah, so his are blue jobs, mine are pink jobs. The colours really mean nothing. But yeah, we just literally split them down
Yeah,
the
that's
middle.
that's basically what we do. I think you need it, don't you? In a household, you're a team, aren't you? You have to split the jobs, and there is a lot of it's like a full-time bloody job.
Yeah.
Jim does the bins, typical man job.
Yeah.
Um, but controversially, actually, Jim does the washing,
Jamie
which
does the
surprises.
washing.
Does he actually?
Yeah, Jamie, well, he hates it. One of my New Year's resolutions, right, was to get on top of the washing. And then what I did was I
Oh, I
didn't do
hate
that New
it.
Year's resolution. I just made him do the washing because I was never on top of it. And
Yeah,
it
well, if
worked
you
so
if you leave
well.
if you leave it long enough, they do it, don't they?
So he does
But
it all the time now. Honestly, to just have your washing on the bed
oh,
is one of his best traits.
yeah, it is amazing. My friends hate Jim for that. They're like, "How the hell have you managed to get your husband to do the washing?" Like they just can't understand it.
Oh,
But the reason it started really, I think, was because he's a runner, so he like does ultra marathons and stuff, crazy
yeah.
crazy running. He trains like, well, he used to train before he hurt his knee, bless him, but he used to train every day, like 5 in the morning, really long runs. So every day he'd have all these sweaty, horrible, smelly clothes. So he would have to wash every morning, basically. So I just said to him, just do all of the washing. If you're going to be washing anyway, like just get it. And he gets it all on, and I normally put it out, so because he'll get it on before work, and then I'll kind of get it on the line, and then he brings it all back in. So I suppose we do share it, kind of.
Yeah, we are pretty
Um,
50-50 with most things.
yeah.
I think that like he probably does the washing. I would always do like the shop, like the
Oh
main
yeah,
food shop and
yeah.
like food and stuff. Most of like Poppy's bits that she needs, like I would look, I don't know, I think we are really 50-50, but we used to have more designated roles. I feel like now we just do. I mean, when you've got kids, it's like just trying to keep afloat, isn't it?
Oh,
It's
you
like
just
if you
have to
walk
do,
past
yeah,
something and
what you
it needs
can.
doing, just do it.
Yeah, definitely. But, a lot of the time it doesn't get done in our house. Our house is a
Same.
bit of a mess, to be honest, but who cares?
Yeah,
We're happy.
exactly.
It's fine.
That's what my mum always said. A messy house is a happy house. So you
It's
don't want it
true.
to look
It's
like
so true.
a show house, do you?
No, and that's the thing. And when you're recording stories, you can just, carefully place your phone so people
Exactly.
can't see your house.
So it isn't a shithole in the background.
Yes, basically.
I thought this was an interesting question. Do you think you and your hubbies are more or less intimate now than when you first got together, but not sexually? So just like
Oh.
kisses, hand holding, cuddling, tickling, those kind of things.
Oh, we're definitely less since children, 100%. Like
I would
that is,
love to be like,
yeah.
oh yeah, no, we are more,
No.
but
Oh,
we're
when people say
not.
that, I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
I do. I used to like tickle that boy's back to oblivion like every night,
Yeah.
and now he'll get the like birthdays and Christmas.
Yeah, it's special occasions. That's
Like
so
we are
bad, isn't
quite.
it?
We are.
Oh,
We are. I don't know. I would say we're affectionate.
I think you two are, but like you're like us. Are you more affectionate weirdly when you're on like a night out or you're at an
Yeah.
event or something? Because I am with Jim. If we're together when we're out, it's just all like it feels like old times. And I think that's where the problem lies is when you're at home, it's such a groundhog, it's Groundhog Day, isn't it? Same thing, day in, day out, hard work, you're tired. And then when you go out together, it's like, oh, this is what we used to be like. And you're just naturally more affectionate. We definitely are. When we're out and about, it's more like the old times, if you know what I mean. But at home, yeah, I can't lie. we don't really cuddle, to be
We
honest.
don't. But you know what I will say? I do get more now in a marriage, why if the level of affection kind of drop,
Mm,
why, and this isn't what this podcast is going to go down to, but I am going to touch on it,
yeah,
is I do think having a healthy sexual like relationship, sex life, those
yeah,
kind of things, it does become more important because that affectionate side does drop a little bit.
yeah.
Um
you have to make the effort. You do,
yeah,
because it's
you have
yeah.
to have that closeness, and I think,
Mhm.
like, both with me and Jamie have very different love languages in day-to-day life, but one love language that we both have is touch. I love love
Aw,
languages. So
yeah.
you do need that, and I think it is important. Saying that, when I was pregnant and through to when Poppy was about 6 months old, we didn't once jump on each other's bones. So went like 18
No.
months for nothing.
Well, that's the thing, and when you say that to people and they're shocked, it's like, "Oh," but I thought that was quite normal, I didn't that was the last thing on my bloody mind when I was pregnant
I
and just
know.
given birth, but then you hear of people, don't you, like,
Who love
ha
it.
and they literally get pregnant, like, 2 months after they've had a baby. I'm like, "What the hell
Yeah.
is going on?" But that's apparently midwives say that's very normal. They catch people in the hospitals, did you know that? They catch people at it.
Really?
Yeah, because it's
What, on
apparently
a
a time that
delivery
people like.
ward?
Yes, that's what my midwife told me. I was like, "No." She was like, "Yeah, it's a thing, it's a thing. People like
I
it." I was like, "No,
suppose
please don't."
there's a lot of oxytocin running around after
Oh,
you've
I
had a
don't know.
baby, but yeah, nah, that was not on my
I
list
was
of
like, "Jim,
things.
close your ears. It's not happening, love. Get away."
Somebody else asked, "What is your biggest pet peeve?" I actually asked Jamie, right, "What's your biggest pet peeve with me?" And his first answer was, "We're not having this conversation."
They can't
And
tell you. They're too scared to tell you.
oh no, then he started reaming them off. So
Oh,
then
oh,
his top 3 most pet peeves for me were that I don't switch things off, which is fair.
yeah,
And with a cost of living crisis, I need to learn to do that.
yeah.
I don't change the toilet rolls, and I leave the cardboard insert in the bathrooms, which again,
Oh, do you?
I do that.
That would annoy
Apologies.
me.
And I don't finish drinks is the third thing that annoys
I
me.
would say I would say that's Jim's for me. He hates it if I have a drink. No, he tips it away. I'm like, "I'm counting my pints. Do not touch." And he chucks it away because he's like, "Well, you just left half a pint of water on the side." I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm counting it and I couldn't drink it all in one go, all right?"
Yeah,
He hates that.
I
Oh,
will
that's funny.
drink a cold cup of coffee or a cold cup of tea. Like, I am a mother. Like, that is a
Yeah,
skill that I have
yeah.
adapted to over the last
Just
2.5 years.
100%. I'm like, "Just don't touch my stuff." It's simple. But my pet peeve for Jim, oh, I hope he's not listening,
He'll
but
never listen, it's
it's
fine.
the toilet, just clean the bloody
Oh,
toilet. Do you know
Jamie
what I
is good
mean?
for cleaning the toilet, to be fair.
Oh,
He isn't bad
Jim
at
is
that.
not, Finley is not, Bethany is not. Oh, it's just awful in my house. I'm like, every 2 minutes, I'm like, "Really?"
It was like
That
that
is
when I
mine.
when I lived at home with my brothers. I'd just be like, "For God's sake."
It's
But
awful.
Jamie's for me is not taking the recycling out and just leaving it on the side. Bearing in mind, he leaves it on the side next to the French doors. He's less than a meter
Oh.
away from all of our recycling bins, and he
Oh,
just
yeah.
leaves it there.
That's and do you know what? Jim does that with washing up. The dishwasher's there, love. Like, why
Jamie
is it
does
on the
that.
side?
He leaves it above. Honest to God,
Oh,
right? I could
does
punch him in the face. Like, what are you
does he put
doing?
does he put things in soak?
No, no soap, just literally on
Oh,
top of the
Jim
dishwasher. But then
Jim puts
has
everything in soak, and then so that's even harder because I have to tip all the water and the bits of food out. It's just, oh my God, I can't stand it.
But he then has the audacity to, if I load the dishwasher, to change it all around because apparently I can't load the
Oh,
dishwasher properly.
oh no, I won't let Jim touch it, to be fair. So that's probably why he does leave it on the side, because it's me saying, "You've done it wrong again." It's, dishwasher is there's a certain way and there's a certain setting that I like that's really hot at the end so it dries really well, and he
Yeah.
just doesn't seem to know how to get it right.
What was the best bit of advice you've ever been given? Best bit of relationship advice?
Oh, um, probably what you just said, to be honest, to try and keep
The
keep the fire
space.
going, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is very, very important, I think. And I do have to really push myself to make an effort. I have to say, it's not something that comes like naturally anymore because it's just got
Mm.
to a point where we're just, it's
You're in the
bad, isn't it? Really?
But you're in the rhythm of life, isn't it? Like, I remember,
Yeah.
someone saying to me once, "Never stop dating your husband or your wife." And I
That's
was like,
true.
"That's so true." Like, and me and Jamie are awful for it because we always say, like, we're gonna have date nights, and yeah, it is hard with a baby, but I think we have childcare overnight once a month. Like, there's no reason we can't go and do something that night and
Yeah.
have, make it a little bit special. We've definitely got better. And now that we're fortunate enough to both be self-employed and we can work our diaries a bit more in sync with one another, we can do stuff in the day and things like that, which is nice. But I think that,
Yeah.
like you say, that is so important, because I
Oh,
think
definitely.
if you don't, then you just become disconnected. And I think that's where you
You
see
do.
so many relationships become friendships.
Yeah, because you don't even talk really, do you? That not loads when you're at home because you've got the kids and everything around. Whereas when you go away, you can sit and talk and actually ask each other questions. And actually, it takes us back to like when we first met. So we do make the effort to go away on, like, we'll have like 2 night stays in hotel. We're really lucky
Mm.
because like my mum will have the kids, or if we've got one meal booked, like my brother will come and babysit for the night. And it's just, we're very lucky to have that childcare, because I think that is so needed. Like we make a lot of effort to do that, to be honest. We go away together a lot.
Yeah, I think that is really important. And I think I've always taken on board that sentiment as well, as don't go to bed on a fight or an argument.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, so I
even
don't we don't. Yeah, that's true.
I have said sorry sometimes when I'm not going to lie to you. I was absolutely not in the wrong. But it's like sometimes it's that picking your battles as well, isn't it? Like my
Mhm.
mum would always say to me, "I'm going to pick my battles with your father, and this is not one
Yeah.
of them." And it's so true that you only realize it when
Yeah.
you're. And I was thinking today, actually, I was driving in the car to get my nails done, and I don't know why I thought of it, and I was like, it's funny how the older you get and the longer into like your marriage you get, and you suddenly, these things that your parents would say to you when you were younger, you're like, I
Yeah.
so see that now.
You see it. Yeah, you so do. And do you know what's funny? Jim's mum used to always say that to me, pick your battles with him, because I'd see her with Jim's dad before, like when we'd been on holiday and stuff together. And I could see her getting annoyed. She was like, you just have to ignore it. Just let them be how they are. Because Jim's very similar to his dad. He
Mm.
has lots of traits. We're not going to get into them, but yeah, it can be quite annoying sometimes. And she was like, just let him be, that's him. Just chill. If it doesn't bother you, just let him be whatever he wants to be. Like, he's a bit of a panicker or like a worrier. He's always got to be early for things, and he just, all of this stuff that I'm not really like. And she was like, but it's not, it's nothing bad. You just got to pick your battles and let him get on with it. And I was like, yes, okay. So I've learned to do that.
Yeah, that is definitely a key to a
Yeah,
happy marriage.
it is. It really is.
And I thought I would end the questions
Hmm.
on this episode with we've talked about quite a lot of things that piss us off about them, but
Yeah.
what is the best trait of Jim? Like,
Oh,
what is the thing that you're like, oh, I just love that about you?
he's really, really thoughtful, and really he grounds me. Like, if I ever need advice or anything, he's just so good at, like, I don't know what it is about him. Even my friends say this. They're like, he's so good with you. Like, if I'm stressed or anything, he just knows the right things to say, and he's just really caring. Like, genuinely a very caring person, really romantic. I don't see it that often now, but when I do, I'm like, oh, there it is. He's still romantic. We just don't have
Yeah.
time to do it. He's just very, very loving, and just he cares a lot. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really sweet for a guy to think about stuff like that. And
100%.
how I feel. He's really good at that.
Jamie's like
Oh,
exactly the same. Like
yeah.
he is so grounding to me. And I think
Mm,
the he is just so kind. He's got one of the
yeah.
kindest hearts of any person I've ever met. And he would, he would do anything for anybody. And like some of the things that annoy me with him are also so sweet. Like he'll always
Yeah.
tip when we go out, and he'll be like, but they've had a hard day, babe. You don't know
Oh,
how
that's what
hard their
Jim would
day's
say.
been. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't know, this could really make their day. Or like we'll be getting coffee and he'll be like, can I just pay for the car behind? And like he's
Oh,
so
don't.
unassuming. Like he does nothing for clout or for like
Yeah. Yeah.
accolation. He just does it because he is just a lovely human
Oh,
being.
oh, don't. I love him. He's so
And
cute.
it's just, but it is
Yeah.
just so lovely. And I just think sometimes like that, you need that. Like even I need that. And I'll find sometimes like he'll do something like that. And then when I go and get a coffee, I'll be like, can I get the people behind me, please?
Yeah, it makes you think about it, doesn't it? And Jim always said to me, actually, I'll never forget this, when we first went to the shop together. he was like, you know, when they say hi and you go to the checkout, he's like, hi, how are you? You having a good day? And they were like, oh, and they look really shocked. They're like, oh yeah, no, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, how are you? Like they just can't believe he's
Oh,
asking. And he does it every time. Every time we go to a shop, he's like, hi, how are you? How's your day? You know, and he talks to them, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never done that. It's like, it's not an English thing to do, is it? Like a British
no,
thing. Nobody talks, but he does do that. And I think that's really sweet.
that is so nice. I always think like the tell of a really good relationship and a really strong relationship is when the like your partner, your spouse, your significant other
Mm-hmm.
makes you a better person. And
Yes.
me and Jamie definitely make each other the best
Yeah.
versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's effortless, like you said earlier on. Like
Yeah.
it's just that is effortless. There's no real thought that goes behind that.
No, it's natural. And like you say, like he grounds you. Jim really grounds me as well. And we probably do the same for them.
Obviously, best thing that ever happened to the boy. And we're
Oh.
going to end today's episode there. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Gemma Rach Let's Chat, the podcast. We have loved speaking about relationships. Obviously, we could have talked for hours about this subject, and there'll probably be future episodes where maybe we look into specific things, weddings, babies, all that. So if there is a particular subject you'd like us to cover, then please do go over to our socials, which will be linked in the episode description, and leave us a comment or send us a message. And we would love to hear your feedback and your future episode suggestions. But for now, it's bye from me.
And bye from me.
And we will see you all next week for another episode. Bye.
Bye. Bye.